E3 2021 is just a few weeks away, and we are beyond excited for some potentially epic reveals. And in E3's 26-year history, Nintendo has been known to drop some earth-shattering announcements on the E3 stage and in their own video presentations. There will be time for us to predict what Nintendo has in store for this year, but today we're feeling nostalgic. We want to count down Nintendo's top 10 best E3 reveals that got audiences worldwide jumping out of their chairs from pure hype. Out of all Nintendo's E3 premieres these past 2 decades, it was hard to pick just 10. But we believe that these are the best of the best for many different reasons. So, as per usual, let's start with number 10. Nintendo's E3 2010 press conference left a mix of emotions, mostly left by that Skyward Sword demo that was plagued with technical difficulties, but they closed the show with the reveal of the Nintendo 3DS. It wasn't exactly a surprising announcement since Nintendo had announced they would be unveiling a 3D-capable DS, but seeing it revealed was still cause for excitement. The 3DS was going to be a true next-gen handheld, and this was made all the more clear with the reveal of a new game from a dormant franchise.
Sorry to keep you waiting!
Kid Icarus Uprising. After nearly 20 years, Pit was finally getting his own 3D game. In 3D! With exhilarating combat and epic set pieces all on a tiny handheld. And this was being developed by none other than Sora Limited, with Smash Bros. Creator Masahiro Sakurai in the director's chair. With just a trailer alone, Kid Icarus Uprising proved what the Nintendo 3DS was capable of. And it got fans excited for the console that would go on to sell over 75 million units. It's been almost 10 years since Kid Icarus Uprising, and hopefully we will get a remake or sequel within the decade. Being a Metroid fan is hard. Not as hard as being an F-Zero or Earthbound fan, but close. In 2017, Metroid fans were at the peak of worrying about their favorite franchise. At that point, it had been 7 years since the last Metroid game, and 10 years since the last Prime game. Sure, there was Federation Force, but to put it lightly, that wasn't exactly what the fans wanted after more than a half-decade of no Metroid games. But then, during Nintendo's E3 Spotlight presentation, they revealed that Metroid Prime 4 was finally in development for the Nintendo Switch. Not only that, but they announced later during a Treehouse stream that another Metroid game was coming to the Nintendo 3DS. A remake of Metroid 2 called Metroid Samus Returns, a fitting name. While the latter came out 3 months after its reveal, Metroid Prime 4 has yet to see a release date, and a gameplay trailer, and a screenshot. You get the idea. Now, in terms of the quality of the announcement, it wasn't that great. It was just some blue space nebula with a giant CGI number 4 and a PNG of the title. If you didn't know anything about Metroid, this was probably a boring trailer for you, but if you were a Metroid fan, this was the biggest sigh of relief. Metroid has not gone the way of F-Zero or Earthbound. Unfortunately, the game that was announced is no longer the exact game we're getting thanks to the project being scrapped and given to Retro Studios, the original creators of the Prime trilogy. Despite how much of a bummer that is, it is comforting to know that Metroid Prime 4 is in capable hands. Now Retro, could you at least post some concept art on Twitter? I'm dying for some information here. Now, E3 2004 had perhaps the greatest reveal in Nintendo history, Reggie Fils-Aime.
My name is Reggie, I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names, and we're about making games.
Was this actually a Nintendo employee saying this? Reggie embodied a new era for Nintendo, and E3 2004 was a grand time for them, as this was the show where they announced the Nintendo DS. Though they didn't call it a successor to the Game Boy Advance, it was totally a successor to the Game Boy Advance. This handheld was ambitious, sporting not one, but 2 screens, with the bottom one being a touchscreen when the technology wasn't common at the time. However, that wasn't all the Nintendo DS was sporting, as Reggie showed off the hardware capabilities of the system with something groundbreaking.
Here's a brand new Metroid game playing on Nintendo DS. The same way you'll be playing it tomorrow.
Wait a minute. Is that a 3D Metroid game running on a handheld? Usually handheld Metroids are in 2D. What is this wizardry? Yes, this was where Metroid Prime Hunters made its debut, and it was a grand demonstration of what Nintendo's upcoming handheld could do. It could produce high-quality 3D graphics and support wireless online and local multiplayer. It was truly a revolution in gaming. Before the revolution was announced, but we'll get to that later. This next reveal is interesting, partly because it didn't even happen at Nintendo's own presentation. In an odd turn of events, this game reveal occurred at Ubisoft's E3 2017 press conference, where they opened the show with Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
The dream is reality!
This reveal was absolutely wild, as Shigeru Miyamoto took the stage with Ubisoft's CEO, with both of them holding weapons from the game. I wish I could say we saw this reveal coming, but this game was leaked months before the show, and it was not met with the kindest reception. Fans were bewildered, wondering why Mario would ever collaborate with Ubisoft's annoying Rabbids. However, this presentation defied all expectations, showcasing a unique turn-based strategy game set in the Mario universe that has been invaded by the Rabbids. With a beautiful art style and an engaging gameplay demonstration, this turned many of the doubters into believers. That, and the passion the developers had for this project, couldn't have been made clearer, with the game's director Davide Soliani shedding wonderful tears of joy at Miyamoto praising the work of him and his team. Who would have thought that the premiere of a Mario and Rabbids crossover would be so emotional? The game also turned into a smashing success critically and financially, so this wonderful reveal didn't go in vain. Let's hope we get a sequel announcement at this year's show. 2001 was an important year for Nintendo, as they were on the cusp of releasing their next-gen platform, the GameCube. This E3, they had to convince consumers why their cube-shaped console was the one to buy this holiday season. They had games like Luigi's Mansion and Super Monkey Ball, but the game that got everyone's attention was Super Smash Bros. Melee. Granted, this came out a few weeks after the GameCube, but it still cemented itself as an important launch window title for the system. The E3 demonstration showed off the opening cinematic, revealing a ton of new characters, which was met with cheers from the audience, which in those days was mostly press. Melee had one heck of a roster, with new additions including Princess Peach, Zelda, Sheik, Bowser, and the Ice Climbers who haven't been seen since the NES era. Gameplay was also demonstrated at this event, and it made people look forward to the next generation of gaming even more, showcasing high-quality 3D visuals running at 60 frames per second. The character models were also more detailed than they ever were on the Nintendo 64, giving players a taste of what we can expect Nintendo's iconic heroes and villains to look like on the GameCube. Super Smash Bros. Melee is an important game for many reasons, but this E3 2001 presentation also solidified it as a defining example of what the GameCube could do. The lead up to a new console generation is always exciting, and at E3 2005, Nintendo was about to reveal their next generation home console. This was the year after they revealed the Nintendo 3DS, and some little game we'll talk about later, so expectations were through the roof on this one. The late and great Satoru Iwata took the stage to talk about the Nintendo Revolution, and he was hiding the system in an unlikely place: his front pocket.
Well, we've got one.
Guess you can do that when you create a console no thicker than 3 DVD cases. The design of the Revolution was sleek, with a promise that it would appeal to casual and hardcore gamers alike. It would also become sort of a legacy machine thanks to Virtual Console, allowing you to play NES, SNES, and Nintendo 64 games through digital downloads, and you could play GameCube games through backwards compatibility. Still, there were questions about the revolution that weren't answered, such as what the controls will be like, and what's the launch lineup, and will the name be changed to Wii? Those answers would come later, but this announcement left players excited for the future of Nintendo. Also, they revealed a new Metroid game with it. Remember when Nintendo revealed Metroid games with their consoles? Just me? Okay. The Super Smash Bros. Series had a number of great announcements at many E3s, but we can only talk about one. There is of course the epic reveal of Solid Snake in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, there's also Mega Man and Pac-Man for Smash 4, but for this one, we had to pick something huge. A rare example of a perfect Smash reveal. Okay, we just had to make that pun because the Banjo-Kazooie reveal was all kinds of hype. Here was a character that fans have been demanding be in Smash since the Melee days, and as the years went on, it felt more and more unlikely that the bear and the bird wouldn't get their Smash invitation because they weren't a Japanese franchise, because they haven't been on a Nintendo console for decades. The reasons were plentiful, but we soon found out at E3 2019 that these excuses were unfounded, as Banjo-Kazooie made history as the first Western-owned game character in Super Smash Bros. It was also refreshing to see Spiral Mountain remade in glorious HD along with the traditional designs from Banjo-Kazooie. They look a lot better than... This announcement seemed to come at a perfect time when everyone was begging for Banjo-Kazooie to be in the game. It was a rare, pun intended, example of a wild prediction coming true. And if you don't believe me, just look up a reaction compilation to see people lose their collective minds at home and at the E3 media press room. How could this not put a smile on your face? The anticipation for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was... wild. The build-up for this game spans 2 E3s, those being the initial reveal in 2014 and its grand re-reveal in 2016. At E3 2014, we only got a brief sample of what the game was going to look like, with a gorgeous art style and lush open world, and a brief cinematic of Link battling a Guardian, ending with a release date of pure lies. We would then see off-screen gameplay at the Game Awards later that year, but then it was delayed a few months later to a new release date of more pure lies. In the span of 2 years, we only got tiny snippets of the game, which made Zelda fans absolutely starving for new information until E3 2016, where Nintendo dedicated their entire show floor booth to what would then be revealed as not Zelda Wii U, but Zelda Breath of the Wild. It was the most packed booth at E3, with a line that would stretch for what felt like miles. E3 2014's reveal of the game hinted at big changes coming to Zelda, but E3 2016 was the plateau, and told us just how much Breath of the Wild was going to revolutionize Zelda and open world gaming as a whole. E3 2016 was without a doubt Nintendo's most daring E3 yet, only focusing on one game with not even a hint at their next console that would then be called the Switch. Obviously, it was a risk that paid off in spades. It's time to go old school with this next one. Let's go back to E3 1996, when Nintendo was at the cusp of releasing their first 3D console, the Nintendo 64. Since the PlayStation and Saturn have been out for a few months at the time, Nintendo didn't exactly invent 3D gaming, but they still blew minds during the E3 presentation they held at the Biltmore Hotel. The game that took center stage was Super Mario 64, and back then, there was nothing else like it. If you don't believe me, let the audience's reaction speak for itself. This was a revolution in 3D gaming, with players able to control the camera at all times and control Mario to his fullest extent, running around in circles, climbing up trees, and pulling off all kinds of wicked jumps. This wasn't a mere fluff presentation either, as the final release of Super Mario 64 lived up to the fans' wildest expectations and beyond. Nintendo may have been showing off the next generation of gaming in this presentation, but they also showed off the next few generations after that. It was so revolutionary, you're probably wondering what E3 reveal could possibly top this. Well, you probably already know by now.
Sorry to steal the #1 slot from you, Joey, but I figured this one deserved to have someone who was actually there when Twilight Princess was shown for the first time at E3 2004. The reveal was masterful, coming just barely a year after the release of Wind Waker, which, while a great game, wasn't the one everyone expected based on the GameCube tech demo from years earlier. People were ready for a more realistic take on Zelda. And just when it seemed like Nintendo's E3 2004 press conference is wrapping up without a new 3D Zelda in sight, Reggie announced that they had one more thing to show.
But before you leave, I'd like you to step inside one more world for Nintendo GameCube.
You've probably seen the video, especially since we just showed it. But nothing, and I mean nothing, can capture the room's energy in that moment, when everyone realized this was the Zelda game they had been waiting for. The crowd erupted in cheers, claps, and screams. Grown men were brought to tears. It was a reveal unlike any other I've seen. It's one thing to see it on video, but it was a whole other to live it, and I'm privileged to have experienced it firsthand. Although time may ultimately look back fonder upon Wind Waker than Twilight Princess, nothing could take away from the pure earth-shattering hype felt by its very announcement. And that's why it's #1 in our list of top most hyped Nintendo announcements at E3.
And those are the top 10 best E3 reveals from Nintendo. Let us know what your favorite one is in the comment section down below, and be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more videos like this one and E3 2021 coverage. Also check out the videos on the right for more topics you might be interested in. Until next time, bye.